Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the primetime newscast on Equinox Television. We thank you for joining us. The Constitutional Council in Cameroon has less than 15 days to publish the results of the senatorial election that took place yesterday, the 25th of March 2018, across the national territory. The results are now being compiled at the regional levels, after which they would be forwarded to the National Vote Counting Committee. The Director of Elections Cameroon, in a meeting with the press yesterday in the nation's capital, indicated that the participation rate was at some 97.36%. The Minister of Territorial Administration on his part said that the security measures put in place by the government guaranteed a hitch-free senatorial election across the national territory. Now, is the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, sending signals of full administrative influence over elections across the national territory? The question was provoked by the press statement of Minister Paul Atanganji on the election that took place yesterday in Yaoundé. His press statement is in contradiction to happenings in some parts of the country, especially in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Our reporter Babla Jonathan tells us more in this story.
As the minister in charge of electoral issues in government, a clause that has left critics questioning whether Cameroon is returning to the time when elections were managed by the then Ministry of Territorial Administration and Decentralization. This has been interpreted as a signal that the Ministry of Territorial Administration is announcing its interference, and by extension that of government, in other elections expected to be organized this year, and the presence of administrative authorities, governors, divisional officers and others in the election organizing process further substantiates this school of thought. Another controversial side of Minister Atanganji Paul's press statement concerns the unfolding of the election.
Generally, voting was done in an atmosphere of order, calm, serenity, as prescribed by the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya. No major incident or event was recorded such as to impede on the sincerity and transparency of the current elections.
A statement that is in sharp contrast to what happened in some parts of the two Anglophone regions. It ignores tensions and incidents recorded in some parts of the northwest and southwest regions. A case in point is the discovery of a secret camera in government bilingual nursery and primary school in Mbengui, one of the polling stations in the northwest region.
I had cast my vote. I was about going when all of a sudden something happened. A camera was soon discovered in the voting booth. We don't know who placed the camera, but all of us have bad omens about that camera. It makes us feel horrible to know that the law providing this election made it to be a secret ballot. And if we are voting under camera surveillance, it's no longer a secret ballot.
A hidden device was discovered, and surely it is a serious problem that will be investigated under the supervision of Elections Cameroon. The party also are there. They certainly take necessary measures to help the truth be revealed to all of us.
This occurred despite high security measures put in place by government.
On high-level instructions from the head of state, special security measures were taken and to guarantee the security of the electoral process all over the nation.
Regardless of the hitches recorded, the Minister of Territorial Administration maintains that the voting unfolded peacefully across the national territory.
Municipal councillors turned out massively and voted peacefully. For the current elections, this ministry granted 3,723 observers. 3,309 were national observers, while 414 international observers. We are waiting for their report.
The result will be published by the Constitutional Council within a deadline of 15 days.
Officials at the elections governing body admitted that there were some hitches, especially in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. Let us now see how the atmosphere was on the election day in the southwest regional headquarters of Buea, where taxi drivers, motorbike riders and traders defied the orders of the southwest governor and went about the activities normally. That was yesterday. The security measures put in place by Governor Bernardo Bilai on the day of the senatorial election were simply partially respected. Derry Jato tells us more in the following report.
Buea Subdivision, March 25, 2018, the day for the senatorial elections in Cameroon. There is no polling station in Buea, but Buea, hosting the southwest regional capital, is at the center of the senatorial elections at the level of the region. It is afternoon here and the town is timidly alive. The Southwest Governor's communique prohibiting movement of persons and vehicles as a security measure ahead of the senatorial elections is partially respected here. Some commercial bikers who came out on the road revealed that the news of the communique signed the eve of the elections got to them too late, and they had already planned to go out and fend for their families this Sunday. At the Sunday Munya market, commercial activities are ongoing, but some traders complain of poor sales because some of their clients from other regions and towns were not allowed to enter Buea.
But the worst one is because most of the people, any man is done, and the guy is not in the wrong. So people are not going to come because they are afraid. See the election. As you see, the money, 6 months, I don't even get money. Yes.
At press time, Buea was calm.
And yesterday, it was a chaotic atmosphere in Bangem, the chief town of Kupe-Manengoba division of the southwest region of Cameroon, where there was gun battle between security forces and some armed civilians. It was a similar atmosphere in Bello, in the Boyo division of the northwest region of Cameroon, where several councillors had to flee to the bushes when the armed civilians appeared and opened fire. It lasted for several hours, and it should be noted that with regards to the socio-political unrest in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon, as we said earlier in this newscast, the French ambassador to the country has cautioned French citizens against traveling to the English-speaking parts of Cameroon hit by the socio-political crisis. On the website of the French embassy and the Twitter page of the French ambassador, the northwest and the southwest regions of the country were described as unsafe areas for French nationals. Gilles Thibault said that if French citizens must travel, they should avoid tense areas like Kumbai, Meme Division, Ekondo Titi, Mundemba, Ekok, Mamfe. Those are localities in the southwest region of Cameroon. They should respect all security measures put in place by administrative authorities and the curfew, as well as avoid public manifestations and movements at night. We would be telling you more on that in our subsequent newscast. On to something else. An electric pole has collapsed in Bafang, a locality in Onkam division of the West region, and it is threatening the lives of local inhabitants. It is reported that a child sustained severe injuries recently as a result of the situation. Local inhabitants are calling for the energy supply company to react as far as the situation is concerned. Our reporter Rabiatu Aliyu tells us more in this report.
At the center of this roundabout in Bafa Onkam division is a collapsed electric pole perturbing movement and commercial activities. This electric pole, according to the local population, fell on March 8th, and since then, naked cables from the pole have remained a permanent danger to the population.
And if you don't have some picking vehicles, you don't carry picking balls to do. Say the past week, I beg, you find as you don't come, so me can't help you too.
This electricity pole causes accident. A child sustained injuries after falling here and was rushed to the hospital. The electric pole causes accident, especially at night, because drivers don't see it. This is a very populated and active place. It is very risky. The electricity supply company is yet to react more than 2 weeks after the incident occurred. Locals are complaining that the lives of children are at stake.
Our children always walk around this place and we are frightened because they might one day be electrocuted if not careful. The electricity pole also causes traffic congestion here.
Inhabitants have put in place precautionary measures to guarantee the safety of the passers-by and strangers. They said that the electricity supply company is obliging them to pay for repair works to be done.
The electricity supply company asked us to contribute 10,000 francs each before they repair it. We can't pay our electricity bills and still pay for what is not our responsibility.
Despite the unsafe situation, business persons still carry out their respective activities some few meters from the collapsed electric pole. They said there is need for an urgent solution to be provided.
And the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Boya, Professor Horace Ngomo Manga, has told newly appointed officials of the university to contribute to the growth of the institution. He was speaking while commissioning them into their functions, as Derek Jato tells us.
87 in total, the newly appointed officials of the University of Boya have been installed in their functions here at Dorothy Lumumba Njoma's Amphitheater, and before the entire university family, the officiating officer, Professor Horace Ngomo Manga, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Boya, challenged the newly appointed Vice Deans, Head of Department, faculty officers and service heads to be loyal, assiduous and respect hierarchy, for they will be expected to inject new dynamism for the betterment of UB. The installation ceremony also witnessed the commissioning of the University of Boya Support Staff Delegate to work from 2018 to 2020.
And Christians in Cameroon and beyond are bracing to celebrate one of the most significant feasts, the Easter, that's going to be this Sunday. The Easter Sunday would mark the end of the Lent period, during which faithfuls are told to be faithful and draw closer to God. They are told to be holy, rather. In Kumbo of the Bui Division, Northwest region of Cameroon, the people have been told to reflect on the sufferings and sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Clergymen are also praying for peace to reign and an urgent solutions to the Anglophone crisis to be provided. Let's now have an excerpt of Reverend Father Elvin Saikila Wanyu. He is the priest of the Kumbo Diocese in the Bui Division, Northwest region of Cameroon. He was speaking to our reporter on the ground, Chris Confon. He's coming back to the significance of the Palm Sunday and the Holy Period. Take a listen.
Palm Sunday is a day on which Christians commemorate the entry of Jesus into Jerusalem in triumph, acclaimed as king, not just any kind of king, a humble and meek king. And of course, Palm Sunday cannot be separated from the second part of the week, which it begins, called Holy Week, referring to the days of Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter, Saturday, because the reason Christ entered Jerusalem was to suffer and to die. And so it is the beginning of very important celebrations in the Catholic Church. In fact, the most important celebrations that build up to the Easter Vigil, which is the greatest of all the vigils, and Easter Sunday, which is the greatest of all the feasts in the Catholic Church. The Church, as the body of Christ and as a custodian of the gospel and of truth, has asked the population and the government to do what is proper, and especially asking the government to go to the root of the problem. And after pushing that far. The hierarchy of the Catholic Church requested that Christians should offer prayers, ceaseless prayers, especially during this period of Lent. And in addition, we must be ready to forgive after the manner of Jesus. It's a complicated situation, but it is a radical situation, which means that the difficulties we have some roots, which, if the solutions we seek to offer do not go back to the roots of the problem, we're just going to keep pruning it until it becomes a monster.
Meantime, the Pope has urged young people not to allow the older generations to silence their voices or ideas. That was the message, or his message, to Catholic Christians as they began the Holy Week leading to Easter Sunday. Let's have the details with Oro News.
As he led the world's Roman Catholics in Palm Sunday celebrations, Pope Francis suggested Jesus was the original target of false public spin, or as we like to call it, fake news. The Palm Sunday Mass opened a busy week for the Pontiff, which will culminate in the traditional Holy Thursday Mass, Good Friday service, Easter Vigil, and then the Easter Sunday Mass. He also urged young people not to keep quiet about their faith and their dreams.
Sta a voi non restare zitti.
Dear young people, you have it in you to shout. It's up to you not to keep quiet, even if others keep quiet. If we older people and leaders keep quiet, if the whole world keeps quiet and loses its joy, I ask you, will you cry out? Please, make that choice. Before the stones themselves cry out.
We continue with news out of Cameroon. Egyptians went to the polls today. The incumbent Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has voted in an election which is widely expected to return him to power. Polls will be open for 3 days, and the president, Sisi, has urged Egyptians to massively take part in the voting process. Details once again with Oro News.
Egypt's incumbent President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has cast his vote in an election which is widely expected to return him to power. Polls will be open for 3 days, and Sisi has urged Egyptians to go and vote, hinting he sees the election as a referendum on his 4-year rule. Earlier Monday, dozens of people queued up to vote in and around Cairo, but not in great numbers. Sisi's sole challenger is Musa Mustafa Musa, a long-time Sisi supporter widely dismissed as a dummy candidate. Musa's GAD party had actually endorsed Sisi for a second term before he emerged as a last-minute challenger. Many Egyptians see Sisi as vital to stability in a country where unrest since 2011 has hurt the economy. Critics say he's presided over Egypt's worst-ever crackdown on dissent and have dubbed the vote a charade.
And in sports, we talk football. The national football team of Cameroon surprisingly plucked a big win over an unexperienced team, that is Kuwait, over the weekend. The encounter took place at the Kuwait City in the international friendly. Cameroon, after several Euros, managed to win 3-1, which called for celebration, as innocent as it tells us in this report.
Sunday, March 25, 2018, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon clashed against their counterpart of Kuwait in an international friendly encounter. A match indeed which gave the Cameroon team a big goal harvest after several years. The boys of interim coach Alexandre Belinga toyed with Kuwait, whose history of football is merely sketchy. Kuwait, which is yet to be famous in international football, was spanked 3-1 by the Lions of Cameroon at the Jaber Stadium in Kuwait City. It was at the 10th minute that Vincent Aboubakar scored the first goal for Cameroon, thanks to Faye Collins and Christian Bassogok.
That is the first goal! Ladies and gentlemen, goal number 1 for Vincent Aboubakar.
Kuwait, still trying to recover from the first shock, rather conceived a second goal from Christian Bassogok barely 5 minutes after the first goal.
Le Cameroun qui essaye de faire l'addition avec ce deuxième but. Christian Basson.
2-0 in the first half.
Dans l'équipe des Lions indomptables.
10 minutes into the second half, Christian Basogog distinguished himself with a third goal.
C'est Basogog again. Oh, he scored. My God, he takes it from right behind.
A goal which revamped the spirits of Kuwait as they surprised the Lions with a well-constructed goal in the 60th minute through Yacob Al-Tarawa.
Oh, my God!
The remaining 30 minutes was insufficient for Kuwait to equalize at home as the Lions stood fearful. A delicious cake served the Lions after several years. Cameroon 3, Kuwait 1.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Viewers, we thank you for joining us. As usual, wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.